begin at the beginning. It is spring moonless night in the small town, starless and Bible black. The cobble streets silent and the hunched quarters and Rabbit's Wood limping invisible down to the slow black, crow-black fishboat bobbing sea. The houses are blind as moles, though mostly fine tonight in the snouting velvet dingles. Or blind as Captain Cat there in the muffled middle by the pump and the town clock, the shops in mourning, the welfare hall in widow's weeds. And all the people of the lulled and dumbfound town are sleeping now. Hush. The babies are sleeping. The farmers, the fishers, the tradesmen and pensioners, cobbler, schoolteacher, postman and publican, the undertaker, fancy woman, drunkard, dressmaker, preacher, policeman, the webfoot cockled women, and the tidy wives. Young girls lie bedded soft or glide in their dreams with rings and trousseau, bridesmaided by glowworms down the aisles of the organ-playing wood. Boys are dreaming wicked of the bucking ranches of the night and the jolly Rogered Sea, and the anthracite statues of the horses sleep in the fields, and the cows in the byres, and the dogs in the wet-nosed yards, and the cats nap in the slant corners or lopes lie streaking and needling on the one cloud of the roofs. You can hear dew falling and the hushed town breathing. Only your eyes are unclosed to see the black and folded town fast and slow asleep. And you alone can hear the invisible starfall, the darkest before dawn minutely dew-grey stir of the black, dab-filled sea, where the Arethusa, the curlew and the skylark, Zanzibar, Rhiannon, the rover, the cormorant, and the Star of Wales lilt and tide. Listen, it is night moving in the streets, the processional salt, slow, musical wind in Coronation Street and Cockle Row. It is the grass growing on Llaregib Hill, dewfall, starfall, the sleep of birds in Milkwood. Listen, it is night in the chill, squat chapel, hymning in bonnet and brooch and bombazine black, butterfly choker and booslate bow, coughing like nanny goats, sucking mintos, 40 winking hallelujah, night in the fore ale, quiet as a domino. In Ocky Milkman's loft, like a mouse with gloves, in Diebread's bakery, flying like black flour. It is tonight in Donkey Street, trotting silent with seaweed on its hooves, along the Cockle cobbles, past curtain fern pot, text and trinket, harmonium, holy dresser, watercolours done by hand, china dog and rosy tin tea caddy. It is night in eddying among the snuggery of babies. Look, it is night, dumbly, royally winding through the coronation cherry trees, going through the grave of Bethesda with winds gloved and folded, and dew doffed, tumbling like sailors' arms. Time passes. Listen. Time passes. Come closer now. Only you can hear the houses sleeping in the streets in the slow, deep salt and silent black bandaged night. Only you can see, in the blinded bedrooms, the corns and petticoats over the chairs, the jugs and basins, the glasses of teeth, thou shalt not, on the wall, and the yellowing dicky bird watching pictures of the dead. Only you can hear and see behind the eyes of the sleepers, the movements and countries and mazes and colours, and dismays and rainbows and tunes and wishes, and flight and fall, and despairs and big seas of their dreams. From where you are, you can hear their dreams. Captain Cat, the retired blind sea captain, asleep in his bunk in the sea-shelled, ship-in-bottle, ship-shaped best cabin of schooner house dreams, of never such seas as any that swamped the decks of his SS Kidwelly, bellying over the bedclothes and jellyfish slippery, sucking him down salt deep into the davy dark, with a fish come biting out and nibble him down to his wishbone, and the long drowned nuzzle up to him.
Remember me, Captain.
You're Dancing Williams?
I lost my step in that.
You see me, Captain. The white bone talking. I'm Tom Fred the donkey man. We shared the same girl once. Her name is Mrs. Probert.
Rosie Probert, 33 Duck Lane. Come on up, boys. I'm dead.
Hold me, Captain. I'm Jonah Jarvis. I came to a bad end. Very enjoyable, actually.
Alfred Pomeroy Jones, sea lawyer, born in the Mumbles, sung like a lid that crowned you once with a flagon, tattooed with mermaids, thirst like a dredger, died of blisters.
Miss Scott, were your ear holes?
Curly Bevan, tell my auntie it was me that pawned the Ormolu clock.
Aye, Curly!
Tell my missus, no, I never.
I never done what she's done, I never.
Aye, they did.
And Reuben's coconuts, and shawls, and pallets to my Gwen now.
How's it about?
Is there rum and lava bread?
Bosoms and robins.
Concertinas,
Ebenezer's bell.
Fighting and onions.
Flowers and daisies?
Tiddlers in a jam jar.
buttermilk and whippets.
Rockabye, baby.
Washing on the
And
line.
old girls in the snow?
How's the tenors in Dowlice?
Who milks the cows now in my squen?
When she smiles, is there dimples?
What's the smell? Past. Oh my dead dears.
From where you are, you can hear in Cockle Row in the spring moonless night Miss Price, dressmaker and sweet shopkeeper, dream of her lover, tall as the town clock tower, Samson syrup gold-maned, whacking thighed and piping hot, thunderbolt-based and barnacle-breasted, flailing up the cockles with his eyes like blow lamps, and scooping low over her lonely, lovely, hot water bottle body.
Oh, Mavanui Price!
Oh, Mr. Morg Edwards.
I am a draper, mad with love. I love you more than all the flananet, calico, candlewick, dimity, crash and merino, tussle, crepon, muslin, poplin, ticky, twill, in the whole cloth hall of the world. Let me take you away to my emporium on the hill, where the change hums on wires. Oh, throw away your little bed socks and your Welsh wool knitted jacket. I will warm the bed like the Sunday roast. I will lie by your side like the Sunday roast.
I will knit you a wallet of forget-me-not blue for the money to be comfy. I will warm your heart by the fire so that you can slip it in up under your vest when the shop is closed.
Mavanoi, before the mice gnaw at your bottom drawer, say you will.
Yes, Mog. Yes, Mog. Yes. Yes.
All the
yes.
bells of the tills of the town will ring out for our wedding.
Come now, drift up the dark. Come up the drifting sea-dark street now in the dark night seesawing like the sea, to the Bible-black, airless attic over Jack Black, the cobbler's shop, where alone and savagely Jack Black sleeps in a nightshirt tied to his ankles with elastic, and dreams of chasing the naughty couples down the grass-green gooseberry double bed of the wood, flogging the tosspots in the spit and sawdust, driving out the bare bold girls from the sixpenny hops of their nightmares.
Achavi! Achavi!
Evans the Deaf, the Undertaker,
laughs high and aloud in his sleep, and curls his toes as he sees, upon waking 50 years ago, snow lie deep on the goose field behind the sleeping house. And he runs out into the snowfield, where his mother is making Welsh cakes, and steals a fistful of snowflakes and currants, and climbs back to bed to eat them, cold and sweet, under the warm white clothes, whilst his mother dances in the snow kitchen, crying out for the lost currants.
and in the little pink-eyed cottage next to the Undertaker's, Lie alone the 17 snoring gentle stone of Mr. Waldo, rabbit catcher, barber, herbalist, cat doctor, quack, his fat pink hands palms up over the edge of the patchwork quilt, his black boots neat and tidy in the washing basin, his bowler on a nail above the bed, a milk stout and a slice of cold bread pudding under the pillow. And dripping in the dark, he dreams of...
And this little piggy went to market, and this little piggy stayed at home. This little piggy had roast beef, and this little piggy had none. And this little piggy went
Wee, wee, wee.
all the way home to...
Waldo! Waldo!
Yes, my good love?
What will the neighbours say? What will the neighbours?
Poor Mrs. Waldo.
What she puts up with.
Never should have married.
If she did not do,
Same as her mother.
there's a husband for you.
Bad as his father.
Oh, look where he ended.
At the asylum.
Crying for his mum.
Every Saturday.
And he hasn't got a leg.
And carrying on.
With that Mrs. Beatty Morris.
Up the quarry.
Seen her baby.
Oh, he's got his nose.
Oh, makes my heart bleed.
What he'll do for drink.
He sold the pianola.
And his sewing machine.
Falling in the gutter.
Talking to the lamppost.
He was in language.
Singing in the W.
Poor Mrs. Waldo.
Waldo! Waldo!
Hush, love, hush. I'm widow of Waldo now.
Waldo, Waldo! What will the neighbours say? What will the neighbours say?
Black as a chimney.
Ringing doorbells.
Breaking windows.
Making mud pies.
Seen him in the bushes.
Playing muffins.
Send him out of bed without any supper.
Give him Cenepods and lock him in the dark.
Off to the reformatory.
Off to the reformatory.
Learning with a slipper on his BTN.
Waldo, Waldo, what are you doing with our Matty?
Use the kiss, Mary Richards.
Give us a penny then.
I'll be off, Benny.
Lips as a penny.
Where are you? Take this woman, Matty Richards,
Dulcie Prothero.
Effie Bevan.
Lil Glue Pot.
Mrs. Fletcher. Bloodwin Bowen.
to be your awful wedding wife.
No. No, no, no.
Now, in her iceberg white, holily laundered crinoline nightgown, and a virtuous polar sheets, in spruced and dusty-fine bedroom, in trig and trim bay view, a house for paying guests at the top of the town, Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard. Widow. Twice. Mr. Ogmore Linoleum retired, and Mr. Pritchard, failed bookmaker, who, maddened by becoming swabbing and scrubbing the voice of the vacuum cleaner and the fume of polish, ironically swallowed disinfectant. Fidgets in her in sleep, wakes in a dream, and nudges in the ribs dead Mr. Ogmore and dead Mr. Pritchard, ghostly on either side.
Mr. Ogmore, Mr. Pritchard, it is time to inhale your balsam.
Oh, Mrs. Ogmore. Oh, Mrs. Pritchard.
Soon it will be time to get up. Tell me your tasks in order.
I must take my pyjamas from the Joe-marked pyjamas.
I must take my cold bath, which is good for me.
I must blow my nose
In the garden, if you please.
in a piece of tissue paper which I afterwards burn.
I must dress behind the curtain and put on my apron.
I must boil the drinking water because of germs.
I must take my herb tea, which is free from tannin.
And have a charcoal biscuit which is good for me.
I may smoke one pipe of asthma mixture.
In the woodshed, if you please.
I must put on rubber gloves and search the peat for fleas.
I must clean the parlour and spray the canary. Then I must dust the blinds, then I must raise them.
And before you let the sun in, mind it wipes its shoes.
In Butcher Bynan's, Gossamer Bynan, daughter, schoolteacher, dreaming deep, daintily ferrets under a fluttering hummock of chicken feathers, in a slaughterhouse that has chintz curtains and a three-piece suite, and finds with no surprise a rough, small, ready man with a bushy tail winking in a paper carrier.
Help!
cries Organ Morgan the organist in his dream.
There is perturbation and music in Coronation Street. All of the spouses are honking like geese and the baby singing opera. PC at Hilary's has got his truncheon out and is playing cadenzas by the pump. The cows from Sunday Meadow ring like reindeer. And on the roof of Handel Villa, see the woman's welfare hoofing with Bloomer in the moon.
At last, my love.
Sighs Gossamer Bynum, and the bushy tail wags Rude and Ginger. It's the end of town. Mr. and Mrs. Floyd, the Cocklers, are asleep as quiet as death, side by wrinkled side, toothless, salt and brown, like two old kippers in a box. And high above in Salt Lake Farm, Mr. Utah Watkins counts all night the white-faced sheep as they leap the fences on the hill, smiling and knitting and bleating, just like Mrs. Utah Watkins.
34, 35, 36, 48, 89.
Knit one, slip one, knit two together, pass slip stitch over. Bah.
Hockey Milkman, drowned asleep in Crockle Street, is emptying his churns into the Dewi River,
Regardless of expense.
weeping like a fool. PC Attila Reese lamps out of bed, dead to the dark and still foghorning, and drags up his helmet from under the bed. But deep in the backyard lock-up of his sleep, a mean voice murmurs,
You'll be sorry for this in the morning.
and he heave-hoes back to bed, his helmet swashing in the dark. Willy-nilly postman asleep up street walks 14 miles to deliver the post as he does every day of the night, and rat-a-tat-tats hard and sharp on Mrs. Willy-nilly.
Don't spank me, please, teacher.
Whimpers his wife at his side. But every night of her married life, she's been late. Mrs. Rose Cottage's eldest, May, peels off her pink and white skin in a furnace in a tower in a cave in a waterfall in a wood, and waits there raw as an onion for Mr. Wright to leap up the burning tall hollow splashes of leaves like a brilliantine trout.
Call me Dolores like they do in the stories.
Alone until she dies, Bessie Bighead, hired help, born in the workhouse, smelling of the cowshed, snores bass and gruff on a couch of straw in a loft in Salt Lake Farm, and picks a posy of daisies in Sunday Meadow to put on the grave of Gomer Owen, who kissed her once by the pigsty when she wasn't looking, and never kissed her again, although she was looking all the time. And the inspectors of cruelty fly down into Mrs. Butcher Bynan's dream to persecute Mr. Bynan for selling
Owl meat, dog's eyes, man chop.
Mr. Bynan in butcher bloodied apron, spring heels down Coronation Street, a finger, not his own, in his mouth. Straight-faced in his cunning sleep, he pulls the legs of his dreams and...
Hunting on pigback shoots down the wild giblets.
Help!
My foxy darling.
Now, behind the eyes and secrets of the dreamers in the streets, rocked to sleep by the sea, see the titbits and topsy-turvies, bobs and button-tops, bags and bones, ash and rind, dandruff and nail parings, saliva and snowflakes and molted feathers of dreams, wrecks and sprats and shells and fish bones, whale juice and moonshine, and small salt fry dished up by the hidden sea. The owls are hunting. Look, over Bethesda gravestones, when hoots and swoops, catches a mouse by Hannah Reese, beloved wife. And in Coronation Street, which you alone can see, it is so dark under the chapel in the skies, the Reverend Eli Jenkins, poet, preacher, turns in his deep towards dawn sleep and dreams of...
I stab Vodine.
He intricately rhymes to the music of Cruth and Pirgon, all night long in his druid seedy nighty, in a beer tent black with parks. Mr. Pooh, schoolmaster, fast asleep, pretends to be sleeping, spies Foxy round the droop of his nightcap and whistles up.
Later.
Mrs. Organ Morgan grows dressed, coiled grey like a dormouse, her paws to her ears conjures silence. She sleeps very dulcet in a cove of wool, and trumpeting Organ Morgan at her side snores no louder than a spider. Mary Ann the sailor's dreams of
The Garden of Eden.
She comes in her smock frock and clogs.
Away from the cool, scrubbed, cobbled kitchen, with the Sunday school pictures hanging on the whitewashed walls, and the farmer's almanac hung above the settle, and the sides of bacon hanging from the ceiling hooks. She goes down the cobbled pathways of the apple pie garden, ducking under the Jippo's clothesline, catching her apron on the blackcurrant bushes. She goes past the beans and the onion patch and the tomatoes ripening on the wall. She goes towards the old man who is playing the harmonium in the orchard, and she sits down on the grass at his side and starts to shell the green peas that grow up through the lap of her frock that brushes the dew.
In Donkey Street, so furred with sleep, dye bread, Polly Garter, no good boyo, and Lord cut glass sigh before the dawn that is about to be and dream of
Oh, Turkish girls. Horizontal. Oh.
Babies.
Nothing.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
time passes. Listen. Time passes. An owl flies home past Bethesda to a chapel in an oak, and the dawn inches up. Stand on this hill. This is Llaregib Hill, old as the hills, high, cool and green. And from this small circle of stones, made not by druids, but by Mrs. Bynum's Billy, you can see all the town below you sleeping in the first of the dawn. You can hear the lovesick wood pigeons mooning in bed. The dog barks in its sleep farmyards away. The town ripples like a lake in the waking haze.
Less than 500 souls inhabit the 3 quaint streets and the few narrow by-lanes and scattered farmsteads that constitute this small decaying watering place, which may indeed be called a backwater of life, without disrespect to its natives who possess to this day a salty individuality of their own. The main street, Coronation Street, consists for the most part of humble 2-storied houses, many of which attempt to achieve some measure of gaiety by prinking themselves out in crude colours and by the liberal use of pink wash, though there are remaining a few 18th century houses of more pretension, if, on the whole, in a sad state of repair. Though there is little to attract the hill climber, the health seeker, the sportsman or the weekending motorist, the contemplative may, if sufficiently attracted to spare at some leisurely hours, find in its cobbled streets and its little fishing harbour, in its several curious customs and in the conversation of its local characters, some of that picturesque sense of the past so frequently lacking in towns and villages which have kept more abreast of the times. The River Derby is said to abound in trout, but is much poached. The one place of worship with its neglected graveyard is of no architectural interest.
Principality of the sky lightens now over our green hill, into spring morning larked and crowed and belling. Who pulls the town hall bell rope with blind Captain Cat? One by one the sleepers are wrung out of sleep this one morning as every morning, and soon you shall see the chimney's slow uplifting snow, as Captain Cat in sailor's cap and sea boots announces today with his loud get out of bed bell. The Reverend Eli Jenkins in Bethesda House gropes out of bed into his preacher's black, combs back his bard's white hair, gets to wash, pads barefoot downstairs, opens the front door, stands in the doorway and looking out at the day and up at that eternal hill, and hearing the sea break and the gab of birds, remembers his own verses, and tells them softly to empty Coronation Street that is rising and raising its wings.
Dear Gwalia, I know there are towns lovelier than ours, and fairer hills and loftier far, and groves more full of flowers, and boskier woods more blithe with spring, and bright with birds at dawning, and sweeter bards than I to sing their praise this beauteous morning. I cadder Idris tempest torn, or moil a Moira's glory, Cannedd Llywelyn duty born, Plyn Limon, old in story. By mountains where King Arthur dreams, by Panmain Lawr defiant, the Regab Hill a Molil seems a pygmy to a giant. By Souther, Senny, Dyfed, Edu, Eden, Aled, all tough and towy, broad and free, revenant with its waterfall. Rhaerwen, Cledder, Dullas, Dowie, Lay, Gwilly, Orgo, Nedd, small is our river, Dewi Lord, baby on a rushy bed. By Carrick, Kennan, King of Time, our Erin head is only a bit of stone, with seaweed spread, where gulls come to be lonely. A tiny dingle is Milkwood, by Golden Grove near Grunga. Oh, let me choose, and oh, I should love all my life and longer. Stroll among our trees and stray in Buskog Lane or Donkey Down, to hear the dewy sing all day, and never, never
The Reverend Jenkins closes his front door. His morning service is over. Now woken at last by the out-of-bed, sleepy-head Polly put the kettle on town hall bell, Lily Smalls, Mrs. Bynum's treasure, comes downstairs from a dream of royalty, who all night long went larking with her full of sauce in the Milkwood dark, and puts the kettle on the primer string in Mrs. Bynum's kitchen, and looks at herself in Mr. Bynum's shaving glass over the sink and sees...
Oh, there's a face. Where'd you get that hair from? I got it from an old tomcat. Oh, give it back then, love. Oh, there's a perm. Where'd you get that nose from, Lily? I got it from my father, silly. You've got it upside down. Oh, there's a conch. Look at your complexion. No, you look. Needs a bit of makeup. Needs a veil. Oh, there's glamour. Oh, where'd you get that smile from, Lil? Never you mind, girl. Nobody loves you. That's what you think. So, who is it loves you? Shan't tell. Cross my heart then. Cross my heart.
And very softly, her lips almost touching her reflection, she breathes the name and clouds the shaving glass.
Lily! Yes, Mum?
Where's my tea, girl?
Oh, where do you think? In the cat's box? Coming up, Mum.
Mr. Pooh in the schoolhouse opposite takes up the morning tea to Mrs. Pooh and whispers on the stairs.
Is your ass nick, dear? And you a weed killer biscuit. I've throttled your parakeet. I spat in the vases. I put cheese in the mouse holes. Is your a nice tea, dear?
Too much sugar.
You haven't tasted it yet, dear.
Well, too much milk then. As Mr. Jinkling said his poetry.
Yes, dear.
Then it's time to get up. Give me my glasses. No, not my reading glasses, my seeing glasses. I want to look out, I want to see.
Lily smalls the treasure down on her red knees, washing the front step.
She's tucked her skirt up into her bloomers. Oh, the baggage.
PC Artilleries Ox broad, barge booted, stomping out of Handcuff House in a heavy beef red hat, black browed under his damp helmet.
He's off to arrest Polygata, you mark my words.
What for, my dear?
For having babies.
Lumbering down towards the strand to see that the sea is still there, Mary Ann the sailor's opening her bedroom window above the tap room and calling out to the heavens.
I am 85 years, 3 months, and 1 day. I say that for her, she never makes a mistake.
Morgan at his bedroom window playing chords on the sill to the morning fishwife gulls, who heckling over the donkey street observe.
Me, Daybread, hurrying to the bakery, tucking in my shirt tails, doing my waistcoat, all pink leg goes a button. Why can't you sew them? No time for breakfast, nothing for breakfast. There's wise for you.
Me, Mrs. Daybread one. Captain shawled in an old corset. Nice to be comfy, nice to be nice, clogging up the cobbles to stir up a neighbour. Oh, hello, Mrs. Sarah! Can you spare a loaf of bread, love? Daybread forgot the bread. It's a lovely morning. How's your boils this morning? Oh, that's good news. It makes a change to sit down. Ta, Mrs. Sarah.
Me, Daybread too. Gypsy to kill in a silky scarlet petticoat above my knees. Dirty, pretty knees. High-heeled shoes with one heel missing. Tortoiseshell comb in my bright blonde silky hair. Nothing else on at all but a dab of scent. Lolling Gordy in the doorway. Tell your fortune in your tea leaves, love. Oh, scowling at the sunshine and lighting up my pipe.
It's me, Lord Cut Glass, in an old frock coat belonging to Eli Jenkins and a pair of postman's trousers from Professor Jumble. I've been running out of doors, emptying stuff, so I mind it, love. And then running back in again. Tick-tock.
Me, no good, boyo. After, no good. No wonder.
Me, Miss Price, my pretty Prince House coat. Deaf to the clothesline and net natty as a Jenny Wren. But I pits pats back to my egg and it's cosy, my crisp toast fingers, my homemade plum and butter pats.
Me, Polygata, giving the breast in my garden to my bonny new baby. Nothing grows in our garden, only washing. And babies. And where's their fathers live, my love? Oh, over the hills and far away. Oh, you looking up at me now? Oh, I know what you're thinking, you poor little milky creature. You're thinking, you know better than you should be, Polly, and that's good enough for me. Oh, isn't life a terrible thing, thank God?
Now frying pans spit, kettles and cats purr in the kitchens. The town smells of seaweed and breakfast all the way down from Bayview, where Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard, in smock and turban, Big Besom to engage the dust, picks at her starchless bread and sips lemon lime tea. To Bottom Cottage, where Mr. Waldo in bowler and bib gobbles his bubble and squeak and kippers and swigs from the sauce bottle. Mary Ann the sailors.
Praises the Lord, who made porridge.
Mr. Pooh.
Remembers ground glasses and juggles his omelette.
Mrs. Pooh.
Nags the salt cellar.
Willy-nilly postman downs his last bucket of black, brackish tea and rumbles out bandy to the clucking back where the hens twitch and grieve for their tea-soaked sops. Mrs. Willy-nilly, full of tea to her double chin brim, broods and bubbles over her coven of kettles on the hissing hot range, always ready to steam open the mail. The Reverend Eli Jenkins
Finds a rhyme and dips a pen in his cocoa.
Lord Cut Glass in his ticking kitchen.
Scampers from clock to clock, a bunch of clock keys in one hand, a fish shed in the other.
And Captain Cat in his gallery.
Lined and fine-fingered, same as his sea fry.
Mr. and Mrs. Cherry Owen in their Donkey Street room that is bedroom, parlours, kitchen and scullery sit down to last night's supper of onion boiled in their overcoats and broth of spuds and bacon rinds and leeks and bones.
See that smudge on the wall, next to the picture of Auntie Blossom? That's where you threw the sago last night. You missed me by an inch.
Oh, I always have something blossom too.
Remember last night? In you came, boyo, as drunk as a deacon, with a big wet bucket and big fish flail full of stout. And then you looked at me and you said, God has come home, you said. And then over the bucket you went, bawling and sprawling, and all the floor was flagons and eels.
Oh, give us a kiss.
And then you sang Aberystwyth, tenor and bass.
I always sing Aberystwyth.
And then you did a little dance on the table.
I did.
Drop dead.
What do I do next, my dear?
Well, then you started crying and you said, I'm a poor drunk orphan with nowhere to go but the grave.
And then?
And then you did a little dance on the table all over again. And you said, I am King Solomon Owen. And you were my Mrs. Sheba. Oh, and then I got you into bed. And then you breathed all night like a brewery over me.
From Butcher Bynum's in Coronation Street, the smell of fried liver sidles out with onions on its breath. And listen, in the dark breakfast room behind the shop, Mr. and Mrs. Bynum, waited upon by their treasure, enjoy between bites their every morning hullabaloo. And Mrs. Bynum slips the gristly bits under the tasselled tablecloth to her fat cat.
Oh, she likes the liver, Ben.
Well, she ought to best. It was her brother's.
Oh, Lily! Do you hear that?
Yes, Mum.
We eating pussycat!
Yes, Mum.
Oh, you cat butcher!
Well, it was doctored, mind.
Oh, what's that got to do with it?
Yesterday we had mole.
Oh, Lily, Lily!
Monday otter, Tuesday shrews.
Oh, go on, Mum. He's the biggest liar in town.
Oh, don't you dare say that about Mr. Bynum.
Everybody knows it, Mum.
Mr. Bynum would never tell a lie, would you, Ben?
No, Bess. And now I'm going out after the corgis with my little cleaver.
Oh, Lily, Lily!
Up the street in the Sailor's Arms, Sinbad Sailors, grandson of Mary Ann of Sailors, draws a pint in the sunlit bar. Ship's clock in the bar says 11:30. 11:30 is opening time. The hands of the clock have stayed still at 11:30 for the past 50 years. It is always opening time in the Sailor's Arms.
Here's to me. Sinbad Sailors.
All over town, babies and old men are cleaned and put in their broken prams and wheeled onto the sunlit cockle cobbles or out into the backyards under the dancing vests and left.
I want my pipe, and he wants his bottle.
Noses are white, heads picked, hair combed, paws scrubbed, ears boxed, and the children shrilled off to school. Fishermen grumble to their nets. No good boyo goes out in the dinghy Zanzibar, ships the oars, drifts slowly in the dab-filled bay, and lying on his back in the unbaled water among crabs' legs and tangled lines, looks up to the spring sky.
I don't know who's up there, and I don't care.
He turns his head and looks up at Llareggub Hill, and sees among green lathered trees the white houses of the strewn-away farms, where farm boys whistle, dogs shout, cows low, but all too far away for him or you to hear. And in the town the shops squeak open. Mr. Edwards, in butterfly collar and straw hat at the doorway of Manchester House, measures with his eye the dawdlers by, the striped flannel shirts and shrouds and flowery blouses, and bellows to himself in the darkness behind his eye.
I love Miss Price.
Syrup is sold in the post office. A car drives to market full of fowls and a farmer. Milk churns stand at Coronation Corner like short silver policemen. And sitting at the open window of Schooner House, blind Captain Cat hears all the morning of the town. He hears the voices of children's feet on the cobbles.
Maggie Richards, Ricky Reese, Tommy Powell, our Sal, Little Gerwine, Billy Swansea with a dog's voice. One of Mr. Wallow's nasty Humphrey, Jackie with a sniff. And where's Dickie's Albie and the boys from T-Pan? Perhaps they got the rash again. Somebody's hit Maggie Richards. 2-1 is that Billy Swansea. Never trust a boy who barks. Right again, that's Billy. Oh, there's willy-nilly knocking at Bayview. Rat-a-tat, very soft. The knocker's got a kid glove on. Who sent a letter to Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard? Careful now, she swabs the front classy. Every step's like a bar of soap. Mind your size 12s is. I don't Bessie would beeswax the lawn to make a bird slip.
Morning, Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard.
Good morning, postman.
Here's a letter for you with a stamped and addressed envelope enclosed all the way from Biltwells. The gentleman wants to come and study birds, and can he have accommodation for 2 weeks and a bath? Vegetarian.
No.
I'm sure you wouldn't know he was in the house, Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard. He'd be out of the bang of dawn with his bag of breadcrumbs and a telescope.
And come back at all hours covered in feathers. I don't want persons in my nice clean rooms breathing on the chairs.
Cross my heart, he won't breathe.
Putting their feet on my carpets and sneezing on the china and sleeping in my sheets.
He only wants a single bed, Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard.
And back she goes to the kitchen to polish the potatoes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's Mrs. Rose Cottage. What's today? Today she gets the letter from her sister in Coslas. How's the twins' tea? He's stopping at the schoolhouse.
Morning, Mrs. Pugh. Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard won't have a gentleman in from Biltwells because he'll sleep in her sheets. And Mrs. Rose Cottage's sister in Goslas, they're twins, gotta have them out.
Give me the parcel.
It's for Mr. Pugh, Mrs. Pugh.
Never you mind. What's inside?
A book called Lives of the Great Poisoners.
That's Manchester House.
Morning, Mr. Edwards. Very small news. Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard won't have birds in the house, and Mr. Pugh's bought a book now, and I'll have to do in Mrs. Pugh.
Have we got a letter from her?
Miss Price loves you with all her heart. Smelling of lavender today. She's down to the last of the elderflower wine, but the quinces jam is bearing up. And she's knitting roses on the doilies. Now last week she sold 3 jars of boiled sweets, a pound of umbergs, half a box of jelly babies, 6 coloured photos of the town. Yours, forever, and 21 kisses.
Oh, willy-nilly, she's a ruby. But got my letter. Put it in her hand now.
Mr. Waldo, hurrying to the Sailor's Arms, pint of stout with an egg in it. There's a letter for him.
It's another paternity summons, Mr. Waldo.
Quick, Sinbad! Pint of stout! And no egg in.
People are moving now up and down the cobbled streets.
All the women are out this morning in the sun. You can tell it's spring. Ah, there goes Mrs. Cherry. You can tell it by her trotters. Or she trots, new as a daisy. Who's that talking by the pump? Oh, Mrs. Floyd and Moyo, talking flatfish. How can you talk about flatfish? And that's Mrs. Dime Red One, waltzing up the street like a jelly. Every time she shakes is slap, slap, slap. Oh, who's that? Mrs. Butcher Bynum and her pet black cat. Yeah. It follows her everywhere, meow and all. Now, there goes Mrs. 23. Important. The sun gets up and goes down in her dewlap. When she shuts her eyes, it's night. High heels now, and in the morning too. Mrs. Rose Cottage's eldest, May 17, and never been kissed, ho-ho. Going young and milking under my window to the field with the laddie goats. She reminds me all the way. Can't hear what all the women are gabbing around the pump. Same as ever. Who's having a baby? Who's black, who's eye? Seen Polly Garter giving her belly and earring? There should be a law. Seen Mrs. Biden's newborn jumper? Yes, her old grey jumper died. Who's dead? Who's died? There's a lovely day. Oh, the Costa snowflakes. Oh, good morning, at it early again. You can tell it's spring. Keep milk, or keep milkman. What is rounds? I will say this, his milk's as fresh as a dew. Half dew it is. Enough of Lord Hockey water in the town. Somebody's coming. Now all the voices around the pump can see somebody's coming. Hush, here's a hush. You can tell by the noise of the hush it's Polly Garter. Hello, Polly. Who's there?
Me, love.
That's Polly Garter. Hello, Polly, my love.
Can you hear the dumb goose hiss of the wives as they huddle and peck or flounce at a waddle away? Who cuddled you when? Which of the gandering hubbies moaned in Milkwood for your naughty mother-in-arms and body like a wardrobe, love? Scrub the floors of the welfare hall for the Mothers' Union social dance. Your one mother won't wriggle her roly-poly bum or pat her fat little buttery foot in that wedding ringed holy tonight. Or the waltzing breadwinners snatched from the cosy smoke of the sailors' arms will grizzle and moan.
Too late, cock, too late.
The town's half over with its mourning. The morning's busy as bees. There's the clip-clop of horses on the sun-honey cobbles of the humming streets. Hammering of horseshoes, gobble, quack and cackle, torn twitter from the bird-down boughs braying on donkey down. Bread is baking, pigs are grunting, chop goes the butcher, milk churns bell. Tills ring, sheep cough, dogs shout, saws sing. Or the spring whinny and morning moo from the clog dancing farms. The gulls gab and rabble on the boat bobbing river, and the sea and the cockles bubble in the sand. Scamper or sandlings, curlews cry, crow, pigeon coo, clock strike, bull bellow. And the ragged gabble of the Beers Garden School as the women scratch and babble in Mrs. Organ Morgan's general shop, where everything's sold. Custard, buckets, henna, blackcaps, sugar.
Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard
La-di-da.
has a man in Built Wells.
And he's got a little telescope for looking at birds.
Mr. Willy-nilly said.
Remember her first husband? He didn't need a telescope.
Oh, he just looked at them undressing through the keyhole.
And he used to shout, "Tally-ho!"
Now, Mr. Ogmore, he was a proper gentleman.
Even though he hung his collie.
See Mrs. Butcher Bynum.
Oh, she says Butcher Bynum puts dogs through the mincer.
Oh, go on, pull it out leg.
Oh, don't you tell her that now. There's a dear.
I she'll think he's trying to pull it off through eats it.
There's a nasty lot round here when you come to think of it.
Look at no good boyo now.
Too lazy to wipe his snout.
And out all day fishing, and all he ever brought back was a Mrs. Samuels.
Being in the water a week.
An Ocky milkman's wife that nobody's ever seen.
He keeps her in the cupboard with the empties.
Dye bread, 2 wives.
One for the daytime and one for the night.
Oh, men are brutes when you come to think of it.
Oh, how's Organ Morgan, Mrs. Morgan?
Oh, you look dead beat.
Oh, it's organ all the time with him.
Up all night till midnight playing the organ.
I am a martyr to music.
Outside, the sun springs down on the rough and tumbling town. It runs through the hedges of Goosecog Lane, cuffing the birds to sing. Spring whips green down Cockle Row and the shells ring out. Llaregib, the snip of the morning, is wild fruit and warm. Streets, fields, sands and waters springing in the young sun. Evans the Deaf presses hard with black gloves on the coffin of his breast in case his heart jumps out.
Where is your dignity? Lie down!
Spring stirs Gossamer Bynum's schoolmistress like a spoon.
Oh, what can I do? I'll never be refined if I twitch.
Spring this strong morning foams in a flame in Jack Black as he cobbles a high-heel shoe for Mrs. Dyebread to the gypsy. As he hammers it sternly out.
There is no leg that belongs to the foot that belongs to this shoe.
Sun and the green breeze ship Captain Catsy memory again.
No, I'll take the mulatto, by God. Who's captain here? Hollywood Jig Jig, madam.
Mary Ann of the Sailors says softly to herself as she looks out at Llaregib Hill from the bedroom where she was born.
It is spring in Caerphilly. In the the sun of my old age. And this is the chosen land.
And in willy-nilly, the postman's dark and sizzling, damp, tea-coated, misty pygmy kitchen, where the spitting kettle throb and hop on the range, Mrs. Willy-nilly steams open Mr. Mog Edwards' letter to Miss Mavanwy Price, and reads it aloud to Willy-nilly by the squint of the spring sun, through the one sealed window running with tears, while the bedraggled hens at the back door whimper and snivel for the licorice bog black tea.
From Manchester House, Laregid, sole proprietor Mr. Mog Edwards, late of Tuck. Linen draper, haberdasher, master tailor, costumier for West End negligee, lingerie, tea gowns, evening dress, trousseau, layettes, also ready to wear for all occasions. Economic outfitting for agricultural employment, our speciality. Wardrobe bought. Among our satisfied customers, ministers of religion and JPs. Fittings by appointment. Advertising weekly in the Tulk Bugle. Beloved Mavanwy Price.
I love you until death do us part, and then we shall be together forever. A new parcel of ribbons has come from Carmarthen today. All the colours of the rainbow. I wish I could put one in your hair. A white one, but it cannot be. I dreamed last night you were all dripping wet. You were sat on my lap as the Reverend Jenkins went by. I see you got a mermaid in your lap, he said. Oh, I very anxious. Not like Cherry Owen, who said, you should have thrown her back, he said. Oh, business is very poorly. Polly Garter bought 2 garters with no stockings. So what's the use in that, they say? Mr. Waldo, he tried to sell me a woman's corset. Found it outside, he said. I only know where. I sold a packet of pins to Tom the sailor to pick his teeth. If this goes on, I shall be in the workhouse. My heart is in your bosom and yours in mine. God be with you, Mavanwy Price, and keep you lovely for me in his heavenly mansion. I must stop now and remain yours, eternal, Morgan.
And then a little message with a rubber stamp. Shop at Mog's.
Willy-nilly rumbling, jockeys out again to the 3-sheeted shack called the House of Commons in the back, where the hens weep and seas in sudden spring shine, herring gulls heckling down to the harbour, where the fishermen spit and prop the morning up, and eye the fishy sea smooth to the sea's end as it lulls in blue. Green and gold money, tobacco, tinned salmon, hats with feathers, pots of fish paste, warmth for the winter to be. Weave and leap in it rich and slippery in the flash and shapes of fishes through the cold sea streets. But with blue lazy eyes, the fishermen gaze at that milk mild whispering water with no ruck or ripple, as though it blew great guns and serpents and typhooned the town.
It's too rough for fishing today.
They thank God, and God but a gull for luck, and moss slow and silent make their way uphill from the still, still sea, towards the Sailor's Arms, as the children spank and scamper, rough and singing out of school into the Draggletail yard, and Captain Cat at his window says soft to himself the words of their song.
Johnny Crack and Flossie Snail kept their baby in a milking pail. Flossie Snail and Johnny Crack, one would pull it out and one would put it back. Oh, it's my turn now, said Flossie Snail, to take the baby from the milking pail. And it's my turn now, said Johnny Crack, to smack it on the head and put it back. Johnny Crack and Flossie Snail kept their baby in a milking pail. One would put it back and one would pull it out, and all it had to drink was ale and stout. But Johnny Crack and Flossie Snail always used to say that stout and ale was good for a baby in a milking pail.
The glee party sings in Bethesda graveyard, gay but muffled. Vegetables make love above the tenors, and dogs bark blue in the face. Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard belches in a tiny hanky and chases the sunlight with a fly whisk. But even she cannot drive out the spring. From one of her finger bowls, a primrose grows. Mrs. Dyebread 1 and Mrs. Dyebread 2 are sitting outside their house in Donkey Lane, one darkly, one plumply blooming in the quick, dewy sun. Mrs. Dyebread 2 is looking into a crystal ball, which she holds in the lap of her dirty scarlet petticoat, hard against her hard, dark thighs.
Cross my palm with silver, out of our housekeeping money.
What you see, Livy?
I see a feather bed with 3 pillows on it, and a text above the bed. Oh, I can't read what it says. There's great clouds blowing. Now the text is blown away. God is love, it says.
That's our bed!
Now it's vanished, and the sun's spinning like a top. Who's this coming out of the sun? It's a hairy little man with big pink lips. He's got a walleye.
It's Dyebread.
Now the little man's approaching the bed. He's taking off his boots. He's pulling his shirt over his head. He's beating his chest with his fists. He's climbing into bed.
Go on.
And there's 2 women in the bed. And he's putting his arms around one of the women.
Which one?
Can't see anymore. There's great clouds blowing.
Mean old clouds.
The morning is all singing. The Reverend Eli Jenkins, busy on his morning calls, stops outside the welfare hall to hear Polly Garter. She scrubs the floors for the Mothers' Union social dance tonight.
I knew a man whose name was Tom. He was strong as a bear and 2 yards long. And I loved a man whose name was Dick. He was big as a battle and 3 feet thick. And I loved a man whose name was Harry, 6 feet tall and sweet as a cherry. But the one I loved best, awake or asleep, was little Willie Wee, and he's 6 feet deep. Oh, Tom, Dick and Harry were 3 fine men, and I'll never have such loving again. But little Willie Wee, who took me on his knee, little Willie Wee's always the man for me. Now men from every parish round run after me and roll me on the ground. But whenever I love another man back, Johnny from the hill or Sailing Jack, I'll always think as they do what they please of Tom, Dick and Harry, who were tall as trees. But I'll mostly think when I'm by the side of a little Willie Wee who drowned and died. Oh, Tom, Dick and Harry were 3 fine men, and I'll never have such loving again. But little Willie Wee, who took me on his knee, little Willie Wee's always the man for me.
Praise the Lord, we're a musical nation.
And the Reverend Jenkins hurries on through the town to visit the sick with his jelly and crumbs.
There you go, the Reverend,
as full as a lovebird's egg.
with his brolly and his oats. Put her up, Sinbad, I'm on the treacle today.
The silent fishermen flush down their pints.
Oh, Mr. Waldo,
Sigh Sinbad sailors.
I dote on that gossamer binin.
Love sings the spring. The bed spring grass bounces under birds' bums and lambs. The gossamer Vinan school teacher, spoon stirred and quivering, teaches her Slubberdigullion class.
It was a lover and his lass with an A and an O and an A nonny no.
No, your accents, children. Listen, it was a lover and his lass with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no.
Oh, Mr. Waldo,
Says Sinbad sailors.
she's a lady all over.
And Mr. Waldo, who's thinking of a woman soft as Eve and sharp as sciatica to share his bread pudding bear dances.
No lady I know is.
And if only Grandma died and leave me the pub. Cross my heart, Mr. Waldo, I'd go down on my knees, I'd say, Miss Gossamer, I'd say.
When birds do sing a ding, sweet lovers love the spring.
Polly Garter sings, still on her knees.
Oh, Tom, Dick and Harry were three fine men, and I'll never have such
Ding-a-ding.
again.
Morning school is over, and Captain Cat at his curtained schooner's portholed open to the spring sun tides hears the naughty forfeiting children tumble and rhyme on the cobbles.
Granny, call the boys! They make such a noise!
Boys, 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 come along to me.
Boys, boys, boys! Kiss Granny where she says, or give her a penny! Go on, Granny!
Kiss me in Gooscock Lane or give me a penny. What's your name?
Billy.
Kiss me in Gooscock Lane, Billy, or give me a penny, silly.
Oh, Gwenny, Gwenny, I kissed you in Goosegog Lane. Now I haven't got to give you a penny.
Boys, boys, boys! Kiss Granny where she says, or give her a penny! Go on, Granny!
Kiss me on Claregib Hill or give me a penny. What's your name?
Johnny Cristo.
Kiss me on Claregib Hill, Johnny Cristo, or give me a penny, mister.
Granny, I kissed you on Claregabill, so I am going to give you a penny.
Boys, boys, boys! Kiss Granny where she says, or give her a penny! Go on, Granny!
Kiss me in Milkwood or give me a penny. What's your name?
Dickie.
Kiss me in Milkwood, Dickie, or give me a penny quickly.
Granny, I can't kiss you in Milkwood.
Granny, ask him why!
Why?
My mother's like my son.
Carny custard, give Granny a penny!
Give me a penny.
Haven't got any.
Put him in the river, up to his liver! Quick, dirty Dick, beat him on the bum with a Rudolph stick!
The shrill girls giggle and master round him and squeal as they clutch and thrash, and he blubbers away downhill with his patch pants falling and his tear-splashed blush burns all the way as the triumphant bird-like sisters scream with buttons in their claws and their bully brothers hoot after him with his little nickname and his mother's shame and his father's wickedness, with the loose, wild, bare women of the hovels of the hills. It all means nothing at all. And howling for his milky mum, for a cowl and buttermilk and cow breath and Welsh cakes, and the fat birth-smelling bed and moonlit kitchen of her arms, he'll never forget as he paddles blind home through the weeping end of the world. Then his tormentors tussle and run to the Cockle's sweet shop, their pennies sticky as honey to buy from Miss Mavanwy Price, who was cocky and neat as a puff-bosom robin, and her small round buttocks tight as ticks. Gobstoppers big as wrens that rainbow as you suck, brandy balls, wine gums, hundreds and thousands, licorice sweet as sick, nugget to tug and ribbon out like another red rubbery tongue, gum to glue to girls' curls, crimson cough drops to spit blood, ice cream cornets, dandelion and burdock, raspberry and cherryade, pop goes the weasel in the wind. Gossamer Bynum high heels out of school. The sun hums down through the cotton flowers of her dress into the bell of her heart and buzzes in the honey there. And cutches and kisses, lazy, loving and boozed in her red berry breast.
I don't care if he is coming.
She whispers to her salad day deep self.
I want to gobble him up, even if he does drop his H's.
Sinbad sailors watches her go by, demure and proud and schoolmarm in her crisp flower dress and sun-defying hat, with never a look or lilt or wriggle, the butcher's unmalting ice-maiden daughter veiled forever from the hungry hug of his eyes.
Oh, Gossamer Bynum, why are you so proud?
He grieves to his Guinness.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful Gossamer Bee. I wish that you were for me. I wish you were not so educated.
In the blind-drawn, dark dining room of schoolhouse, dusty and echoing as a dining room in a vault, Mr. and Mrs. Pooh, silent over cold, grey cottage pie. Mr. Pooh reads as he forks the shroud meat eye from the lives of the great poisoners. He has bound a plain brown paper cover around the book. Slyly, between mouthfuls, he side-spies up with Mrs. Pooh, poisons her with his eye, and then goes on reading. He underlines certain passages and smiles in secret.
Persons with manners do not read at table,
Says Mrs. Pooh. She swallows a digestive tablet as big as a horse pill, washing it down with clouded pea soup water.
Some people were brought up in pigsties.
Pigs don't read at table, dear.
Bitterly she flicks dust from the broken cruet. It settles on the pie in a thin gnat rain.
Pigs can't read, my dear.
I know one who can.
Alone in the hissing laboratory of his wishes, Mr. Pooh minces among bad vats and jeroboams, tiptoes through spinneys of murdering herbs, agony dancing in his crucibles, and mixes, especially for Mrs. Pooh, a venomous porridge unknown to toxicologists, which will scald and viper through her until her ears fall off like figs, her toes grow big and black as balloons, and steam comes screaming out of her navel.
You know best, dear.
Says Mr. Pooh. Quick as a flash, he ducks her in rat soup.
What's that book by your trough, Mr. Pooh?
Oh, it's a theological work, my dear. Lives of the great saints.
Mrs. Pooh smiles. Icicle forms in the cold air of the dining room.
I saw you talking to a saint this morning. Saint Polygata. She was martyred again last night down Milkwood. Mrs. Organ Morgan saw him with Mr. Waldo.
And when they saw me, they pretended that they were looking for nests.
Says Mrs. Organ Morgan to her husband, with a mouth full of fish as a pelican's.
But you don't go looking for nests. Wrong combinations, I said to myself, like Mr. Waldo was wearing. And your dress nearly up over your head like polygarters. Oh, they didn't fool me.
One big bird gulp and the flounder's gone. She licks her lips and goes stabbing again.
And when you think of all those babies she's got, well, all I can say is she'd better give up bird nesting as a hobby. That's all I can say. It isn't the right kind of hobby for a woman who can't say no, not even to midgets. Remember Tom Spitz? He was no bigger than a baby, and he gave her two. Oh, but they're two nice boys. Fred Spitz and Arthur. Sometimes I like Fred best, sometimes I like Arthur best. Who do you like best, Organ? Organ, who do you like best?
Oh, Mark not is out. Mark every time for me.
Organ Morgan, you haven't been listening to a word I've said. It's Organ all the time with you.
And she bursts into tears, and in the middle of her salty howling, nimbly spears a small flat fish and pelicans it whole.
I'm in Polish Street.
Says Organ Morgan. Lord cut glass in his kitchen full of thyme, squats down alone to a dog dish milk Fido with peppery fish scraps, and listens to the voices of his 66 clocks, one for each year of his loony age, and watches with love their black and white, moony, loud-lit faces talking the earth away. Slow clocks, quick clocks, pendulum heart knocks, china, alarm, grandfather, cuckoo, clocks shaped like Noah's whirring ark, clocks that bicker in marble ships, clocks in the wombs of glass women, hourglass chimers, to-wit-to-woo clocks, clocks that pluck tunes, Vesuvius clocks, all black bells and lava, Niagara clocks to cataract their ticks, old-time weeping clocks with ebony beards, clocks with no hands forever drumming out time without ever knowing what time it is. His 66 singers are all set at different hours. Lord Cut Glass lives in a house and a life of siege. Any minute or dark day now, the unknown enemy will loot and savage downhill. They will not catch him napping. 66 different times in his fish slimy kitchen. Ping, strike, tick, chime, and tock. The lust and lilt and lava and emerald breeze and crackle of the bird praise and body of spring, with his breasts full of rivering May milk, means to that lordly fish-head nibbler nothing but another nearness to the tribes and knaves of the last black day, will sear and pillage down Armageddon Hill to his double-locked, rusty-shuttered, tip-top, dust-scrabbled shack at the bottom of the town, that has fallen head over bells in love.
And I'll never have such loving again.
Pretty Polly hums and longs.
Now when farmers' boys on the first fair day, and down from the hills to drink and be gay, before the sun sinks I'll lie in their arms for the good bad boys from lonely farms. But I'll always think, as we tumble into bed, of little Willie Wee who is dead, dead, dead.
Sunny, slow, loving afternoon yawns and moons through the dozy town. Sea lolls, laps and idles in, with fishes sleeping in its lap. The meadow still as Sunday, the shut-eyed tassel bulls, the goat and daisy dingles nap happy and lazy. The dumb duck pond snooze. Clouds sag and pillow on Flaregged Hill. Pigs grunt in a wet wallow bath and smile as they snort and dream. They dream of the acorn swill of the world, the rooting for pig fruit, the bagpipe dugs of the mother sow, the squeal and sniffle of yeses of the women pigs in rut. They mud bask and snout in the pig-loving sun. Their tails curl, they rollick and snobber and snore to deep smug after swill sleep. Donkeys angelically drowse on Donkey Down.
Persons with manners
Snaps cold Mrs. Pooh.
do not nod at table.
Mr. Pooh cringes awake, puts on a soft, soaping smile. It is sad and grey under his nicotine, egg, yellow, weeping walrus Victorian moustache, worn thick and long in memory of Dr. Crippen.
You should wait until you retire to your style,
Says Mrs. Pooh, sweet as a razor. His fawnly, measly quarter-mile freezes. Sly and silent, he foxes into his chemist's den, and there in a hiss and prussic circle of cauldrons and phials, brimful with pops and the Black Death, cooks up a fricassee of deadly nightshade, nicotine, hot frog, cyanide and bat spit, for his needling, stalactite, hag and bed nag of a poke back nutcracker wife.
I beg your pardon, my dear.
He murmurs with a wheedle. Captain Cat at his window, thrown wide open to the sun and the clipped seas he sailed long ago, when his eyes were blue and bright, slumbers and voyages, earringed and rolling, I love you Rosie Probert tattooed on his belly. He brawls with broken bottles in the fug and babel of the dark dock bars, rows with a herd of short and good time cows in every naughty port, and twines and souses with the drowned and blousy-breasted dead. He weeps as he sleeps and sails, and the tears run down his grog-blossomed nose. One voice of all he remembers most dearly as his dream buckets down, lazy early Rosie with flaxen thatch, whom he shared with Tom Fred the donkeyman and many other seamen. Clearly a need to him speaks from the bedroom of her dust. In that gulf and haven, fleets by the dozen have anchored for the little heaven of the night, and she speaks to Captain Napping Cat alone. Mrs. Probert,
From the plane, Jack. Quack twice and ask for Rosie.
is the one love of his sea life that was sardined with women.
What seas did you see, Tomcat? Tomcat in your sailoring days long, long ago. What sea beasts were in the wavery green when you were my master?
I'll tell you the truth. Seas barking like seals, blue seas and green. Seas covered with eels and mermen and whales.
And what seas did you sail, my little deckhand? When on the blubbery waves between Frisco and Wales, you were my bosun.
I'll tell you no lies. You tomcat tart, you landlubber, Rosie, you cozy love. My easy is easy, my true sweetheart. Seas green as a bean, seas gliding with swans in a seal-barking moon.
On what seas were you rocking? My favourite husband in these sea boots and hunger. My my whaler, my honey and my daddy. My pretty sugar sailor, with my name on your belly when you were a boy long, long ago.
I'll tell you no lies. The only sea I saw was the seesaw sea with you riding on it. Lie down, lie easy. Let me shipwreck in your thighs.
Knocked twice at the door of my grave and asked for Rosie.
Rosie Clover?
Remember her? She's forgetting. The earth which filled her mouth is vanishing from her. Remember me. I've forgotten you. And I'm going into the darkness of the darkness forever. And I've forgotten that I was ever born.
Look,
says a child to her mother as they pass by the window of Schooner House.
Captain Cat's crying.
Come back! Come back!
The silences and echoes of the passages of the eternal night,
He's crying all over his nose.
says the child, and mother and child move on down the street.
He's got a nose like strawberries.
The child says, and then she forgets him too. She sees in the still middle of the Blue Egg Bay no good boyo fishing from the Zanzibar.
Oh, no good boyo. He gave me 3 pennies today. But I said that I wouldn't.
The child says. Boyo catches a whalebone corset, which is all he's caught all day.
Bloody funny fish.
Mrs. Dyebread too gypsies up his mind, slow-eyed, dressed only in a bangle.
He's wearing a nightgown. Would you like this? Nice wet for Mrs. Dyebread too.
He offers with no hope. She shakes her brass nightgown and he chases her out of his mind. And when he comes gusting back, there in the bloodshot centre of his eye, the geisha girl grins and bows in a kimono of rice paper.
I want to be good boyo, but nobody will let me.
He sighs as she rides politely. The land fades, the sea flops silently away, through the warm white cloud where he lies silky, tingling uneasy eastern music undoes him in a Japanese minute. The afternoon buzzes like lazy bees round the flowers round Mayrose Cottage. Nearly asleep in the field of nanny goats who hum and gently buck the sun, she blows on a puffball.
He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. Oh, the dirty old fool.
Lazy she lies alone in clover and sweet grass. 17 and never been sweet in the grass, ho ho. The Reverend Eli Jenkins, inky in his cool front parlour or poem room, tells only the truth in his life work. Population, main industry, shipping, history, topography, flora and fauna of the town he worships in. The White Book of Llareggyn. Portraits of famous bards and preachers, all fur and wool from the quint to the kneecaps, hand over him heavy asleep, next to faint lady watercolours of pale green milk wood like a lettuce salad dying. His mother, propped against a pot in a palm, with her wedding ring waist and bust like a black cloth dining table, suffers in her stays.
Oh, angels, be careful there with your knives and forks.
He prays. There is no known likeness of his father Esau, who one dog-collared because of his little weakness, was scythed to the bone one harvest by mistake when sleeping with his weakness in the corn. He lost all ambition and died with one leg.
Poor Dad,
Breathed the Reverend Eli.
to die of drink and agriculture.
Farmer Watkins in Salt Lake Farm hates his cattle as he heave-hoes them into milking.
Damn you! The damned dairies!
A cow kisses him.
Oh, bite her to death!
He shouts to his deaf dog, who smiles and licks his hand.
Go ahead, sit on indeed.
He bawls to the cow who barbed him with her tongue, and she moves gentle words as he raves and dances among the summer-breath slaves walking delicately to the farm. The coming of the end of the spring days already reflected in the lakes of their great eyes. Bessie Big Head greets them by the name she gave them when they were maidens.
Peg, Meg, Buttercup, Moll, Fan from the castle, Theodosia and Daisy.
They bow their heads. Look at Bessie Bighead in the White Book of Llaregib, and you will find the few haggard rags and the one poor glittering thread of her history laid out in the pages there, with as much love and care as the lock of hair of the first lost love. Conceived in Milkwood, born in a barn, wrapped in paper, left on a doorstep. Big-headed and bass-voiced, she grew in the dark, until long dead Gomer Owen kissed her when she wasn't looking because he was dead. Now in the light she'll work, sing, milk, say the cow's sweet names and sleep until the night sucks out her soul and spits it up into the sky. In her lifelong love light holily, Bessie milks the fond lake-eyed cows as dusk showers slowly over byre, sea and town. And Utah Watkins curses through the farmyard on a cart horse.
Get her, you bleeding cripple.
And the huge horse neighs softly as though he'd given it a lump of sugar. Now the town is dusk. Each cobble, donkey, goose and gooseberry street is a thoroughfare of dusk and ceremonial dust, and night's first darkening snow, and the sleep of birds drift under and through the live dusk of his place of love. Llaregib is the capital of dusk. Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard, at the first drop of the dusk shower, sees all her sea-view doors, draws the germ-free blinds, sits erect as a dry dream on a high-backed hygienic chair, and wills herself to cold, quick sleep. At once, at twice, Mr. Ogmore and Mr. Pritchard, who all dead day long have been gossiping like ghosts in the woodshed, planning the loveless destruction of their glass widow, reluctantly sigh and sidle into her clean house.
You first, Mr. Ogmore.
Oh, after you, Mr. Pritchard.
No. You widowed her first.
And in through the keyhole, with tears where their eyes once were, they ooze and grumble.
Husbands!
She says in her sleep. There is acid love in her voice for one of the two shambling phantoms. Mr. Ogmore hopes that it is not for him. So does Mr. Pritchard.
I love you both.
Oh, Mrs. Ogmore.
Oh, Mrs. Pritchard.
Soon it will be time to go to bed. Tell me your tasks in order.
We must take our pyjamas from the drawer marked pyjamas.
And then you must take them off.
Down in the dusking town, Mayrose Cottage still lying in clover, listening to the nanny goat's tune.
Oh, I'm fast. I'm a bad lot. God will strike me down. I'm 17. I'll go to hell.
She tells the goats.
Oh, you just wait. I'll sin till I blow up.
She lies deep, waiting for the worst to happen. The goats champ and sneer. And at the doorway of Bethesda House, the Reverend Eli Jenkins recites to Llaregib Hill his sunset poem.
Every morning when I wake, dear Lord, a little prayer. Oh, please to keep thy lovely eye on all poor creatures born to die. And in the evening, at sundown, I ask a blessing on the town. For whether we last the night or no, I'm sure it's always touch and go. We are not holy, bad, or good, who live our lives under the moon. And thou, I know, wilt be the first to see our good side, not our worst. Oh, let us see another day. Bless us this holy night, I pray. To the Son, we all must bow. Say goodbye. But just for now.
Jack Black prepares once more to meet his Satan in the wood. He grinds his night teeth, closes his eyes, climbs into his religious trousers, they fly sewn up with cobbler's thread, and pads out, torched and Bibled, grimly, joyfully, into the already sinning dust.
Off to Glamorgan!
Cherry Owen, sober as Sunday as he is every day of the week, goes off happy as Saturday to get drunk as a deacon, as he does every night.
I always say she's got two husbands.
Says Cherry Owen.
One drunk and one sober.
And Mrs. Cherry simply says,
Aren't I a lucky woman? Because I love them both.
Evening, Cherry. Evening, Sinbad. What do you have? Too much. The Sailor's Arms is always open.
Sinbad suffers to himself, heartbroken.
Gossamer. Open yours.
Dusk is round forever until tomorrow. It is all at once night now. The windy town is a hill of windows, and from the larret waves the lights of the lamps in the windows call back the day and the dead that have run away to sea. All over the calling dark, babies and old men are bribed and lullabied to sleep.
Hush-a-bye, baby, the Sandman is coming. Rock-a-bye, Grandpa, on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. And down will fall Grandpa, whiskers and all.
While their daughters cover up the old unwinking men like parrots, and in their little dark and the lit and bustling young kitchen corners, all night long they watch beady-eyed in the long night through, in case death catches them asleep. And married girls alone in their privately bridal bedrooms powder and curl for the dance of the world. They make in front of their looking glasses haughty or come-hithering faces for the young men in the street outside, at the lamplit leaning corners, who wait in the all-at-once wind to wolve and whistle. And the drinkers in Sailor's Arms drink to the failure of the dance.
Down with the waltzing and the skipping.
Dancing. It isn't natural.
Righteously nods Cherry Owen, who has just downed 17 pints of flat, warm, thin, Welsh bitter beer. Farmer's lantern glimmers a spark of Llaregib hillside. Llaregib Hill writes the Reverend Jenkins in his poet room, that mystic terminus, the memorial of peoples that dwelt in the region of Llaregib before the Celts left the land of summer, and where the old wizards made themselves a wife of flowers. Mr. Waldo, in his corner of the Sailor's Arms, sings,
In Pembroke City when I was young, I lived by the castle keep. Sixpence a week my wages for working for the chimney sweep. 6 cold pennies he gave me, not a farthing more or less. And the only fare I could afford was parsnip, gin and watercress. I did not need another fork or a bib up to my chin. The diner, a dish of watercress and a jug of parsnip gin. Did you ever hear of a growing boy that's so cool and cheap? On flesh that has no bones and that makes you weak. Sweep, sweep, chimney sweep, I went through Pembroke City. All round there but in the snow, look high, young water pretty. Your little chimney sweep, she said, black as the ace of spades. No one swept my chimney since my husband went his way. Come and sweep my Kimberley, come and sweep my Kimberley, she sighed to me with a blush. Come and sweep my Kimberley, come and sweep my Kimberley, and don't forget to bring your chimney, don't forget to bring your chimney, don't forget to bring your chimney brush.
Blind Captain Cat climbs into his bunk. Like a cat he sees in the dark. Through the voyages of his tears, he sails to see the dead.
Dancy Williams?
Still, Dan.
Jonah Jarvis? Still.
Curly Bevan's skull.
Rosie, with God. She's forgotten dying.
Mr. Morg Edwards and Miss Mavandry Price, happily apart from one another at the top and sea end of the town, write their every night letters of love and desire. In the warm white book of Llareggub, you will find the little maps of the islands of their contentment.
Oh, my Mog, I am yours forever.
She looks around with pleasure at her own neat and never dull room, which Mr. Morg Edwards will never enter.
Come into my arms, Mavanoy.
And he hugs his lovely money to his own heart. And Mr. Waldo, drunk in Milkwood, hugs his lovely Polly Garter into the eyes and rattling tongues of the neighbours and the birds, but he does not care. He smacks his live red lips. It is not his name that Polly Garter whispers as she lies under the oak and loves him back. 6 feet deep that name sings in the cold earth.
But I'll always think, as we tumble into bed, of little Willie Wee who is dead, dead, dead.
The thick night darkens. A breeze from the creased water sighs the streets close under milk-waking wood. The wood whose every tree foot's cloven in the black glad sight of the hunters of lovers, that is a God-built garden to Mary Ann the sailors, who knows there is heaven on earth, and the chosen people of his kind fire in Llareggub's land. It is the fair day farmhands wantoning ignorant chapel bride beds. And to the Reverend Eli Jenkins, a green-leaf sermon on the innocence of men, suddenly wind-shaking wood springs awake for the second time this one spring. And I'm sorry we had to keep you with the chair situation, etc, etc. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I appreciate it's cold. I've literally got one really wet left arm. Thank you to Carl for saving my life in the middle of the performance when I realised that there is actually an extension lead here and there's water dripping on it. So your mother's hair could have been up here in a minute, girls, more than usual. But no, thank you ever so much. This is our last performance tonight. It's such a shame it's rained. The beer garden outside would have been absolutely perfect. It's the biggest one we've performed in. But we've had a fantastic run. I think you'll all agree with me when I say that they've done an absolutely fantastic. Incredibly proud. I couldn't have asked for a better cast. They've been absolutely fantastic. But having said that, as you can see, we are a little bit of a shabby lot. So, and coming from Caerphilly all the way to Rubina, bus fare, as you can imagine, just a little bit, So if you want to take pity on them and just, put a little penny in their hat or something, just to,
Give me a penny!
She's not shy. So give Gwenny a penny, as she says. Right?
And you can kiss her where you like.
But we will discuss that later with the children of left the tent. Thank you ever so much again, as I said, for coming. Please take care as you come out of the tent. There is a pole at the bottom and the mud, I would imagine by now, is just a little bit slippery. So please be careful, but thank you all again for coming. Diolch yn fawr.